Artificial intelligence is man-made intelligence.
What is one biggest mistake you would say that early career researchers do make?
The biggest mistake that is being done in research is that people or students, they don't know how to find gaps, research gaps.
Can you start by introducing yourself?
Thank you so much, Dr. David Innocent. I'm Professor Dr. Silas. I'm a full professor and tenure research professional in the Prof. University of Science and Technology. After completing my university degree, electrical engineering, I was upper secondary honors. It was 2011. So I couldn't find a scholarship abroad. It was difficult to find. So I thought what I have to do, I initiated this Rutherford University of Science and Technology 2012. So I started looking for how to grow academically on myself. So I have grown up from there, and until now I have 7 PhDs, and I'm a full professor in power systems. And I'm really happy to talk to you because I saw you have a very big initiative of growing 200,000 researchers in Africa and across the world. So I'm really committed to help you because I have the formula. I have the formula to look for if someone is a researcher or not. So I will really work with you to achieve the target. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that introduction. You mentioned that many people somehow still do not realize that research itself is a career when I was having the conversation with you earlier today. So if you are actually speaking directly to African students who sees research maybe only as a requirement for them to graduate from the university, how would you actually convince them that research can become a meaningful and impactful career path for them?
Normally, several people, they don't know what is research. Research is a scientific investigation that creates or that produces new knowledge. That's it. Producing new knowledge. Like, for example, it's the first time to hear that someone has been growing from the university that you created. That is also a new knowledge that you are acquiring now. So, which means what? Africa, we are not developing because we don't have real researchers. We don't have real people to produce new knowledge so that our professors and teachers across Africa, they may get new concepts. Doctor, do you get me?
Yes. I understand what you're saying. And that is actually very true because from what you're saying, a lot of people here in Africa are just, we're dependent on other people. We want other people to do what we can actually do. And I feel like it is not really being talked about that we can be able to engineer the transformation or so the generation of new knowledge, just like you're talking about. And that is something that I believe that can be very useful and pivotal in Africa if we have the capacity to produce new knowledge from what you're saying. So you supervise PhD students.
And that is creating a very big barrier to the academic development. And when there is a barrier in academic development, there is a barrier in political development. So Africa remains poor.
That is true.
Which means what? We have to do our best to transform, to create a transformative mindset into our people growing them academically, and changing the mindset once for all.
Completely. Okay, so let me if I would actually take from what you said now, you're somebody that supervised PhD students, and I'm sure you support postdoctoral researchers and all of that. What is one biggest mistake you would say that early career researchers do make?
The biggest mistake that is being done in research is that people or students, they don't know how to find gaps, research gaps, and they don't know how to categorize them. They take several years researching for research gaps, whereas before you start doing research, you already have the gap, and the gap is already defined within the problem statement. The only thing that is remaining is finding evidences. If you have evidence and you have the gap, you can create a solution. And that's where the problem is.
Completely, Prof. This is I would very honest with you, like this thing that you've just said now is something I personally resonate with. And most times when you're coming up as an early career researcher, people just want to work on any type of research. They don't even understand if this particular topic or this particular project or this particular insights that they are trying to double down on, if it has any practical implication or if there is need for it. So by virtue of you talking about research gap, now I know somebody might be watching this particular video right now, an early career researcher who doesn't really understand what gap in literature might actually seem to be. So can you actually just tell us, what do you really think research gap entails to be? Because now we've just made a statement, research gap. Somebody might not really understand what that is. Can you tell us what exactly research gap means and how you feel an early career researcher should shape their mind before starting any kind of academic research?
Thank you so much. First of all, before going to the real definition of research gap, I have to tell you that everyone is not a researcher. There are key performance indicators which are showing us that someone is a researcher. Not only into concluded acts, but through personal cognitive values. We have to analyze, first of all, the academic integrity, personal academic integrity, to recognize whether someone is a researcher or not. Otherwise, we'll be asking the beef to bring milk, whereas it doesn't have it. Then, after identifying researchers, because several people, they will tell you they are researchers, whereas they are not. After identifying researchers, we are going to define what is research question. The research question should be built from the research gap. So what is the research gap then? It is void, it is knowledge void, nothing less, nothing more. Knowledge void. Something that is not known, whereas it should have been known. Yeah.
That's very outstanding. Honestly, I think that's so simple and easy, and yet very rewarding to understand, because what you need to understand is that what is not known is the gap, and
Sure.
your ability to identify what is not known is where is what shows that you're a very skillful researcher. Your ability to now identify that, okay, this is where the missing puzzle is, and this is where I can now come and fill the gap as a researcher.
Sure.
Yes. Sure.
As I said before, I said that research is a machine which produces knowledge.
Okay. Yes, of course.
Research gap, that means there is no knowledge.
Yes, yes.
So creating knowledge, bring it to public, that is what we call publication.
True, true.
Then people start using it. Studying is consuming knowledge. So students are knowledge consumers. Teachers are there to impart or to give knowledge. Knowledge from where? From researchers. Teachers, professors, doctors like you, like me, you see? So which means research should be the cornerstone for African development. Our people, they are being enrolled into Western countries. They are studying their cultures. They come back in Africa useless because context. They have a contextual gap. They come with a contextual gap. They don't know exactly what is being around and how to solve them in an African context.
Sure. Honestly, I think I'm gonna say that like some of the things that you've said now has actually opened my eyes more and all of that, and I'm sure some of our listeners are definitely going to benefit handfully from what you're saying. And I would say, Professor, we are entering the world of artificial intelligence. As a matter of fact, we're talking about big data, we're talking about automation, we are saying we're looking at rapidly evolving technologies. I'm going to ask now, how do you really see the role of artificial intelligence? How do you really see the role of researchers changing over the decade, particularly in Africa? Now, when you look at researchers in Africa, how do you think our role is definitely going to change over the next decade?
Actually, people still have confusion about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is man-made intelligence, which means that intelligence, it has the limits and the gaps. Because that man who has been creating that artificial intelligence has his level of thinking. So this is why artificial intelligence in Africa, we tend to take it as if it is the machine that produces solutions. No. First of all, we have to be very professional in everything we do. Then we use artificial intelligence to check what the decision making that we are doing. If we really want to rely on data-driven decision making, we have first of all to use our memory and mind and the conscious to learn the type of data that we are having using those 7 V's of big data. Volume, velocity, veracity, value, visualization, things like that, you see? Then we ask artificial intelligence when we have a confusion. Whereas others in research, we tend to rely on artificial intelligence first before relying on our knowledge and skills, which is totally wrong.
Okay, so from that, okay.
From that, academically, artificial intelligence is good, especially when it comes to fill the gap, the knowledge gap. Not just coming as if it is the last resolve of what we are thinking. It comes for helping researchers to improve, to be interconnected worldwide, because artificial intelligence is gathering all knowledges across all literatures, then synthesized within a small context. So it is good to bring that small text being compared with exactly the level of knowledge that we are having. Because if I give you an example, if I'm a researcher, if I'm a researcher, I have to make sure that really am I a researcher. If I have that knowledge from AI, which is going to help a researcher, whereas I'm not a researcher, I'm going always to create models that are not going to work, because there is that kind of discrepancies in the decision making. And we give what we are. Doctor, we are giving what we are.
Completely.
Yeah.
Exactly true. Of course.
First of all, self-awareness is the key. Self-conceptualization is the key before applying any kind of machinery decision.
True. I agree completely. So I might want to actually say, so what do you actually, what skills do you now think today's researchers or today's students now need to start developing so they will really be very relevant? Because I see that you've already talked about some of the role some of these researchers are going to play. So what are these exact skills that you believe definitely that they should actually develop immediately? So definitely they are going to be very relevant.
First of all, every person, not only my students, every person should do self-awareness. If you don't know who you are, you will always take decisions that are against you. Self-awareness is the key before doing anything. If you are an engineer, you should have evidence in your mind. You should have seen evidence that you are an engineer. If you say you are a researcher, you should have seen evidence that you are a researcher. Then I give you the package of researchers, or the package of engineers, or the package of lawyers, having known that you have the research potentials of those fields. Others are always relying on academic documents. Someone should be misled completely. Someone should be misled from the early childhood. And then you find yourself doing the things that are irrelevant. That is the case of Africa. America, Europe, they have structured their societies. How do they structure their societies? It is just through self-awareness. That is why they express themselves confidently, because they know who they are. Doctor, do you get me?
Completely. That's true. I really true. Honestly, it's something that everybody needs to get very much in contact with, because we cannot overemphasize the need, for one to be very skilled, this period. And if I'm going to now add to that, I'm going to say, when you actually look at your journey, what impact do you still hope students, institutions, and societies will remember most about Professor Silas? When you actually look at your academic journey.
Given my academic journey, I have passed through several things that have been teaching me a very good reason. As I said, I did one of my PhDs includes PhD in education, pedagogy, and andragogy. Andragogy is one of the specializations of pedagogy, whereby self-conceptualization, self-awareness is the key. Because we are still implementing the education system that is very old, the classic education system. Normally, people at the age of 21 or 18 years, they're taken as the old, isn't it? Doctor, do you agree with me?
I completely agree with you, of course, true.
So the way we are educating people now, it's very classic because we are educating them, we bring them into the class, we give them the module, course module, okay? We explain it, we give a test, we conclude, we make reports, then we give them a degree. Okay? That is very, very classic. Actually, someone who is considered adult, he has to run through andragogy. Andragogy, it is that principle whereby someone has, first of all, to say, who am I? Which problems do I have to face in life so that I have to elaborate measures to face those problems? We have to teach our people to solve problems, not just consuming knowledge. Like, for example, the knowledge that I have been acquiring, or you have been acquiring in the undergraduate, do you really use it fully? You don't use it fully. You're just using some piece of it, isn't it?
True.
That is exactly what differs Africa from Westerns. They don't lose time.
Completely agree.
So we have to know that time is money, and we learn, we get the skills that is going to transform or to take decisions on the problems that people are facing.
Of course, I do.
Which means the PhD, if you have a very good supervisor, a PhD that could have been done within 5 years can be taken within 1 year or 2 years.
Of course, true.
Because your supervisor is going to help you to find the gap.
True.
And those guys who are making 5 years or 7 years, it's not because they are stupid. No, you are there in their research laboratories. You are solving problems from their companies. You are helping the lecturer solving the problems from their companies and making money. So they cannot show you exactly what you need. They cannot show you it without having exploited you. That is knowledge exploitation, which is very bad.
Very bad.
And they are giving you a small amount of money, and we are very happy. I'm running from America, from Europe, from whatever. Whereas they are losing your time. And when you come back, you will find your people forgotten you. They have forgotten you.
Well, that's true. Of course, I really agree, honestly, with that. And this is one of the problems a lot of people are really facing. So I'm going to ask you this question. What is one advice you would leave for researchers across Africa, who want to create some kind of global impact? I find it very interesting that you've literally actually answered this question, but if we could just stress it a bit, because most of our listeners are early career researchers, and I believe that the reason why they are listening is because they want to hear from experts, people who have gone before them, and then use those insights to avoid any kind of maybe mistake or making any kind of mistake, and knowing that, okay, probably in the early part of their time in research, they make the right choices. So right now, we know the problem in Africa. A lot of people there is so much trouble in terms of the economic challenges in Africa is quite very enormous, and this is the same thing that happens in other lower middle income countries. So what's one advice you're going to give to researchers that you believe that when they take this path, they are going to create some impact globally?
One advice, first of all, they have to be interconnected. Networking. My knowledge, your knowledge, if you put them together, you can find solution. Doctor, do you hear me? Financially, there is an American writer who said, "My nation is a failed." Did you read that book? My nation is a failed. He said it's so close, so different. Which means, if you approach, for example, a politician, whereas you are not a politician, you will not have the same understanding. But if you approach me, a researcher, whereas I'm a researcher, we are going to share opportunities. That is how others also are thriving in those countries. First of all, connectivity. Number two, we have to know that research is cross-cutting. Research is not. It's one of the field, that one of the professions that is very, very cross-cutting in all the remaining professions. Research is found in politics. Research is found in engineering. Research is found in law. Research is found in internet security and cyber security. Research is found in financial analytics and accounting. Research is found in leadership, in everything. Which means, if you are really a researcher, you have to know, and you have to look for knowledge first of all.
That is really very, very so outstanding from Professor Silas. Honestly, I must really commend you. When we started this session, there are quite some things that you did mention that really, really came down very well for me, and I must really, really applaud you for that time and commitment that you've really given, and those exceptional points, talking from gap in literature, down to how researchers can identify themselves to become outstanding, and how, any career researcher can become very competitive, within themselves. Being connected, that's one of the things you did say, and that's something I believe a lot of our listeners will be taking away from this particular conversation. And I want to say a very big thank you for your time. And I don't know if you have anything to share with us before we call it a time. Okay, now, is there any other last thing you would like to tell our listeners before we call it a time? It has been a very magnificent time talking to you.
I'm calling upon all African researchers to turn their eyes on Africa. We have raw resources. We have very good people. Because if someone doesn't know himself, he's a very good man. So you have to approach him, you show him the way. Let us use Africa, our continent, resourcefully, so that we interconnect each other. We use the resources that we are having. We grow our nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Silas, for that contribution. And honestly, I would be looking forward to having you again in this conversation. Definitely, we would have much more deeper insights. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your time, Dr. David.
All right, everybody.